so we've done a couple lessons now looking at the many fun pre-installed apps, but now we are going to talk about something a little bit less exciting maybe, but still very important, called the settings. So we're going to click down here on settings, and as you can see, it brings up a pretty straightforward listing of all the various settings that you may have. On the left, there's your Wi-Fi, there's airplane mode, and basically those kind of things are if you have trouble connecting to things. So airplane mode, if you turn that on, that will disable all cellular and Wi-Fi communication, so you won't get email or be able to browse the web like you were flying on an airplane. Wi-Fi, this is where you select your Wi-Fi network. Mine's Andy Fluber's, and it has a password, but I already know it. But if you try to join another network, it'll ask you for the password. If you see the little lock on these three, you'll notice there isn't one on this little guest network. That means we could join it without having to enter in a password, so that's pretty handy. Bluetooth, it's important to know that that's there because a lot of new devices like keyboards and mice use Bluetooth, so they are good at connecting to the iPad for that if you want an external keyboard. Now we'll click on notifications, and as you can see, this is really where you can control how much all the apps bother you. They can show a little red circle on the top of the icon, or they can alert you with a big blue announcing notification, or they can show up in your notification center, which if you swipe down just like that, it'll bring down your notification center, so you can scroll around and see all the stuff that's happening around you. And then the next thing under general is where there's a ton of settings. So that's where you can find out all the good information about your iPad, where you can find software updates. And as you can see, there's one minor software update. And if I had more battery, I could hit the install now button, which is right here, but I don't really need to do that. Here under usage is great. You can find out how much you're using. You can get an idea of how much battery you have left. It'll tell you how much storage you have and all that kind of good stuff. That's great to know about. I'd say the next few things that are important are the locking area, which is auto lock. So you can set auto lock to 2 minutes. And what that means is after 2 minutes, your screen will automatically turn off. And when you turn it back on, you'll have to enter in your little passcode lock. And to enable a passcode lock, you just have to go here, and you can hit, you have to enter in your current passcode lock to edit it. But basically that's where you would choose a 4-digit passcode. So it's great if you're worried about having your iPad stolen. And then restrictions right here is basically if you have kids who are going to be using the iPad, it gives you a ton of options, which is great. So you just hit enable restrictions, and then you can restrict it so your kids or other users can't use Safari or FaceTime, or they can't install apps or delete apps, all that kind of good stuff. Let's see, and then lock rotation means that you can't turn the iPad like that. So if you really want to use it just in landscape mode like it currently is, then you can use it, you can hit lock rotation, or you can just not, and it'll do this, and it'll completely change. So if that didn't make you too dizzy, then I hope you're still bearing with me. And now it has a thing about multitasking gestures. So if you want to become an advanced user, then this is great. It'll tell you how you can use multiple fingers to do lots of cool shortcut things. If you want to set the keyboard or date and time or a couple other things, then that's really important to continue on down to the bottom here. We're not going to go through all that right now, but the last thing is the reset area. So if you want to reset everything, you can hit reset all settings. But I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you're having a lot of problems. You can really just do reset network settings if you're having connectivity problems. But for the most part, you shouldn't need this kind of stuff unless you really mucked it up by accident, and that's where the reset area is. So feel free to use that. Sounds, just like your iPhone, if you have an iPhone or an Android device, basically you can control all the sounds that are played here. So you can, create an alarm like that. It's just kind of annoying. But really it's up to you what each sound is, but it's all pretty straightforward. Brightness and wallpaper, you can control how bright your screen is. It doesn't show up on the screencast here, but you can select auto brightness, and that will adjust to the ambient lighting around you. Wallpaper, you can choose what the background is for everything. So let's say we want to have a wave. We can make that both background screens. And now I'll just go back and I'll just close out of that. You can see that changed the background there. So we'll go back open. Picture frame, don't really need to worry too much about it. It's kind of like for screensavers and when you're doing a slideshow on your movies and media. So it's fun, but you don't need it too much. Privacy is definitely important. Keep an eye on all this stuff. Location services, this is where you can enable or disable apps from basically knowing where you are. So if you're a little paranoid like that or just want to keep control over that, definitely check this out. Same goes for contacts and the reminders app that we went through in a previous lesson. Bluetooth sharing. Basically, you could spend several hours going through the settings, but since this is a course for beginners, we're not going to do that. iCloud, if you have that, then this is an important thing to know about. You can enable and disable all this stuff from backing up to iCloud, so we don't need to worry about that. Mail, contacts, and calendars. This is where you set up mail accounts. You literally can just tap add new and it'll start walking you through it. So if, let's say we have a Yahoo account, it'll just want all our information and it'll walk us through that. It'll also import the calendar and all that good stuff. Notes we did in a previous lesson, and same with reminders and messages and the rest of it. The last thing we're going to talk about is Safari, which you're going to use an awful lot, I assume. If you don't like the Google search engines, you can use Yahoo or Bing. Those are the only three right now. Autofill is a useful feature because it can automatically fill in fields for you because it's kind of a pain to type on the iPad. So use autofill. You can always show the bookmarks bar, which is, here I'll show you. The bookmarks bar is right here. See the second row that just appeared where it says Apple News and Popular? You can have it so it always stays on like that, or if you close out, I have it hidden. So see how it disappeared? Stuff like that. So here, we'll go back into settings, and we'll walk through just the last couple. So you can block a few things like JavaScript and pop-ups and stuff if things are gonna muck up your iPad, you think, or if you just want to have a safer browsing experience. But that's about it. I hope that the settings make sense to you and that you avail yourselves of them. And I'll talk about them a little bit more detail in an advanced course here on Modern Lessons. Thanks for watching.